Hi, it's Mark Cook with Kit Planes and Plane and Pilot, Sun and Fun 2025. Here with Shane Woodson of uAvionix. Shane, you got some new stuff you're going to show this year.
Yeah, we do. Nice to be here, Mark. Thank you so much. And, we're excited to be here at Sun and Fun 2025. And, just to kind of start off, as our flagship product, the AV30 continues to expand, and we really, build on that market and find new innovations for it. We are happy to kind of give an update on our APA and HSI. This is the AV APA and HSI. Those are two accessories that we are delivering for experimental and for the kit planes world. But then also in the certified, we're in the process of certification. We are essentially right now we'd say imminent on that certification delivery. We were hoping to come to the show with the certification in hand and be delivering them, but due to everything that's going on with the FAA and current events, we are a little delayed. So we are optimistic that we'll be shipping those hopefully later this month or the next month. So within, say, 30 to 60 days.
So break it down for me. What do each one of those do?
So AV APA is essentially our analog port adapter, and what it's going to do is the AV30. It is a serial input for autopilots. And so what the APA does is it actually takes those legacy autopilots like the S-Tech, the 20, 30, 50, and so forth like that, and it takes that analog autopilot and converts it to digital into the AV30, so we can actually now support those legacy autopilots. Now, AV30 does the digital autopilots like, for instance, the Trio or the AeroCruise or the TrueTrack natively. Doesn't need anything to be able to do that in the AV30E. Now, that's APA, or analog port adapter. The AV-HSI, that is, think of it as more or less again, the AV30, it has an RS-232 input. It does not have AirLink 429. So what HSI does is allows it to read that, to consume that, that AirLink 429, converts it into the AV30. So now you have a capability of full IFR navigation on the AV30. You can get the glide slope, the the ILS. You get everything that's in there as part of that AV-HSI.
And I think it's important to make the distinction that the AirLink 429 is the data stream that the IFR approved GPSs produce. So you're going to need some kind of converter for that to get it onto the AV30, which you didn't have before. So this gives you that functionality. So if you have an IFR GPS,
that's right,
you'll see everything that it produces on the AV30.
That's correct, and that's one of the big things. The AV30, it's approved as a certified and experimental primary attitude indicator and directional indicator. But the hang-up that everybody has kind of been waiting on is that taking it to that next full IFR, getting the approaches, the glide slope, the vertical and horizontal guidance. And so we've had tremendous response on the AV-HSI. Obviously, you're very familiar with S-Techs and the autopilot world, and so there's a lot of people who are just chomping at the bit, waiting for our APA to get certified. So we're really excited what it does to the AV30 kind of ecosystem. And just to touch one additional thing on that AV-HSI, what it does is if you have multiple AV30s, or let's say the AV30 is a control head for our tail beacon X. And so one of the things that the AV-HSI does is it adds in a sync capability where if you change the baro or the squawk on one unit or a heading bug, it actually syncs the data between the multiple units. And so then you don't have to set a setting on one and set it on another, and it takes that workload of a pilot down, so you've got one point of entry.
That's really nice, because I've seen a lot of installations that will use two AV30s.
Yes.
One is sort of locked in as an attitude indicator, and the other is an HSI function.
That's right.
Which obviously you can scroll through, you can do traffic and things like that, but
yep,
especially in some of the certified applications I've seen, they kind of reproduce the attitude indicator and the DG.
They do.
And it's nice to have all the functions. So as you say, you don't have to do it in two places.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's what a large majority of the people that we do see multiple AV30s, they do that because they put one attitude, one indicator, a direction indicator in there, and they can pull that vacuum pump out. And at that point, you're shaving tens of pounds of weight, and that vacuum pump that inevitably is going to fail pretty soon. So
maybe even in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, right? Possibly. So that's again, it's AV30 is our flagship product, and we're just kind of building on that ecosystem. And so that's AVAPA, an HSI update. We're excited to that. We went to AEA and we're here at Sun and Fun, and again, we're ready to start shipping them as soon as we get the green light from the FAA.
So another product that's been around for a while is the Tail Beacon X.
Yes,
I've
sir.
had one at my airplane, really, really good unit. And that will continue to integrate with all the AV30 and AV20 components, right?
It does, yes. And we continue to drive that. That is our transponder. It does require a tail marker light to be able to take and install it in. It's been extremely popular. Obviously, what's happened with the ADS-B mandate with the U.S. and then Canada did the space-based, and we're seeing other countries that have done the space-based performance requirement on ADS-B. But Canada, that mandate keeps kind of nudging out a little bit farther. So one thing I like to tell people for the Tail Beacon X is, hey, it is your Mode S transponder for the United States, but if you ever see yourself flying into Canada, it's kind of like our dual ADS-B citizenship as well, because it's not only for Canadians that need it, but if you're ever planning on flying to Canada or going to Alaska or something like that, it becomes a benefit for you. But talking about that AV30 and Tail Beacon X, we know where that Tail Beacon X world lives, and I think that kind of the next area where we were talking about is we are here at Sun and Fun to announce a new product that we have, and it's kind of, given the current events that we're living in right now, we are, as you know, over the years, we are a very passionate company when it comes down to ADS-B as a safety enhancement. Being able to see fellow pilots out there and them being able to see you is very important, very critical to be able to do those things. And so one of the things that we have done, based on the limitation of based on the limitation of the Tail Beacon X requiring a tail marker light, we did decide to kind of accelerate and launch what's called the Echo ESX. And this is a very compact, as you can see, very lightweight, remote mount, universally remote mount transponder. Again, this is a full 250 watt transponder, Mode S, ADS-B out, uses your traditional kind of, aviation connectors, so it doesn't use any kind of, proprietary connectors. So this is very simple and easy to install, extremely lightweight, and, it does also integrate for experimental, which we are pre-ordering now, and we'll start shipping them hopefully this next month for experimental and LSA aircraft. It uses the AV20 and the AV30 experimental versions as the control head. So it kind of adds to that ecosystem. And then, the Tail Beacon X currently does the integration with some third-party, EFIS and manufacturers. The Echo ESX, this is one that we're actually we're looking to the, to the industry, and we're looking to the pilot community to see, we're evaluating that right now and looking to see if there's a capability to, or a need to do that integration.
So just to be clear then, this is kind of sandbox for the AV30, AV20 currently, whereas the Tail Beacon X can be used with third-party integration with a Dynon or AFS, EFIS.
Yeah, GRT, and like you say, those third-party, and it's the Tail Beacon X is open for it. Because of the space-based mandate and things like that, we really felt that it needed to take part in that. And so with the Echo ESX, we're really watching. Like I say, we want to listen to the customers, but we also want to make sure, one of the things when you're talking about a control head, and we're really big on customer experience and making sure that we want to. Our motto, our company mission is, we radically innovate to make the airspace open and safe for all. And so part of that also is it's making things accessible and working with other partners, but it's also very much about making sure that we're delivering a quality experience and just like the Apple and Android world, when you get into some of that, into some of that world, you kind of have, when you open it up, you have to be very meticulous on making sure that the customer experience and the testing and quality is there. So,
absolutely.
So we are, like I say, we're watching that very closely. And so, maybe if there's, reach out to us if there's an opportunity to say, hey, you guys, this is something I'm interested in, but I need it to work with so-and-so's EFIS, by all means, let us know.
So you're kind of looking to the industry and maybe users at that point to say, how do you see yourself using this? Is there some way that we can integrate that? Or,
Absolutely.
Or even ask the question, is it important to you?
Correct.
Yeah. You don't know until you ask. Right?
Yeah, because initially right now the feedback is they're looking for it for AV20 and AV30. But, as we expand and move on, we want to make sure that we are doing our diligence with the customer and listening to them, because ultimately we build these for customers to make the airspace safe and available for us all.
Yeah. So I haven't asked the question yet. Where are you guys on price for this unit?
So that's actually a good question. So Tailbeacon X, that is $24.99 with as a transponder and everything like that. The Echo ESX is priced out the exact same. It's going to be the same $24.99. We do have bundles if you buy it for experimental with the AV20E and the AV30E. There's a little bit of a pricing discount as a bundle that we offer there, but it's essentially the same price as Tailbeacon X and an AV30 or Echo ESX and an AV30. So it's it's really kind of comes down to that, like, pick your installation path and where do you want it, because again, not everybody has a tail marker light to put it in.
Fair point. So a lot of the MODAS transponders, just sort of circling back to the data side, a lot of the MODAS transponders also have an ADS-B in. Now, I know the Tailbeacon doesn't currently have that. Is that planned for this unit?
It is not. And so one of the things with the ADS-B in, as you're familiar, we have a great relationship and partner with ForeFlight, so we do a tremendous amount of our ADS-B in. We build the Sentry product, Sentry Mini, Sentry, and Sentry Plus for them. So we really have watched and looked at the industry as a whole, and very much the portable side is where a lot of it is. Now, we'll say this, we offer a trade-in program, something, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if someone's going from, one of the legacy transponders with an Echo UAT, or they have, one of our prior, maybe they have a legacy transponder with our Tailbeacon or Skybeacon. We have a trade-up program, so if they trade up to the ESX or the Tailbeacon X, you get a portion of that back. We call it our virtual trade-in. So let's hypothetically say an Echo UAT. If they trade that Echo UAT in, we do what's called a virtual trade-in. So we basically turn that Echo UAT into receive-only mode. So that customer can then use the receive for the Echo UAT, and the Echo ESX or Tailbeacon X becomes your ADS-B out transponder. That way they kind of get the best of both worlds if they don't want to do a portable installation. And so that's the world that we're in right now. And so, there are some things that we'll talk about here in a second that maybe change some of that ADS-B in portability and things like that next. But we're excited to be here at Sun and Fun, like I say, launching the Echo ESX. We're pre-orders, and we have a show special here at the show for 10% off our select general aviation products. And so that's the update on, that's the big news, the Echo ESX.
It's 9:30 on day one, so we got our news out of the way.
We got all of it. Again, I can't stress enough everything that's happening in the current events and safety. We are a company that's very much about kind of pushing the envelope of safety forward and kind of, driving that. And so in other countries and other parts of the world, there is a term, it's called EC, or electronic conspicuity. And this is really a portable ADS-B in and out device. Our product that we do overseas right now, internationally, it is 1090 based. It's a low power 1090. That product in general is, we ship that internationally. It's Sky Echo 2. That is what we do right now. It's priced right at $650 US dollars. That is, obviously, there's some shipping and everything and things that go overseas, but It cannot be sold in the United States because the FCC doesn't approve the low power 1090. So building on that, we are currently testing with the FAA a 978 UAT version. So we are driving that with both US and Canada to work towards getting a portable ADS-B in and out solution, and call it Sky Echo UAT, or TBD on the name, but
TBD, I like the name.
Yeah, we're kind of working on that right now, but it's we're very passionate about that. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity that we see with it because balloons, the hot air balloons, the gliders, the powered parachutes, this becomes a device that it's not your typical ADS-B where it's tied to your aircraft. It is anonymous, and so it basically, you turn it on when you want it on, you turn it off when you don't want it on, and it's anonymous. And at that point, it doesn't give you airspace access, but it gives visibility. It's a safety enhancement. It's really key for aircraft to aircraft. Since it's low power, it's not going to really reach all of those FAA towers and get injected into the ADS-B TSB feed. But again, having that direct aircraft to aircraft line of sight visibility and even beyond, because we're talking 10 to 15 miles or plus range, you can't see that far.
And you really don't need it much further than that. You're really looking for proximity alert for a balloon or a low flying airplane, something that wouldn't otherwise show up. And come on, admit it, we're all looking at our ForeFlight and looking for other traffic.
You got it.
Probably as much as we're looking outside these days. So to have all of these other bits of traffic sort of visible to you that might not otherwise be, that's a real safety enhancement.
Yeah, we feel it is. It's and it also, as Century does with our AV Link and the Echo, the Sky Echo UAT would also integrate with the AV30 and give a traffic display and traffic alerts right on the screen. So like I say, it really builds out that ecosystem. So we're excited about that. We're obviously watching the FAA and trying to kind of nudge it along as and we feel that the timing is ideal right now because if you're not going to require an ADS-B, but you're going to make it available for them, and it adds the safety level that we're talking about, it's tremendous.
Good deal. Well, this is exciting news. You guys are always sort of on the gas with this product development. It's nice to see. And so your Mode S transponder is sort of your big news.
That's the big Sun and Fun news.
But this will be out soon. Experimental stuff, and then certified to follow that. Gene, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me bend your ear.
Thank you.